The dust from the funeral procession had barely settled when Eliza Hawthorne realized she was utterly alone. Her mother had been buried that morning beneath the unforgiving Arizona sun, leaving her with nothing but a weathered cabin, debts that multiplied like rattlesnakes in summer, and her mother's gold wedding band, the last precious thing in the world. She stood in the mercantile 3 days later, the ring clutched in her trembling palm, facing Mr. Garrett's cold eyes. "Please," she whispered, "just enough flour and beans to last the week. This ring is solid gold." Before I continue with Eliza's desperate story, I'd love to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the From Wild West channel and give this video a like. Your support truly matters and motivates us to bring you more quality content like this. I'm curious, where are you listening from right now? Let me know in the comments. Mr. Garrett reached for the ring, but a larger hand intercepted it, calloused, sun-darkened, undeniably strong. Eliza looked up into the face of a man she'd seen around town but never spoken to. Cole Brennan, rancher, widower. A man whose silence carried more weight than most men's speeches. "She's not selling," Cole said, his voice like gravel and honey. He closed her fingers around the ring. "And you're not buying. Put together supplies for Miss Hawthorne. Charge it to my account." "Mr. Brennan, I can't," Eliza started. He turned those steel-gray eyes on her, and she felt something shift in her chest. "You can. And you will. A ring won't keep you alive, but food will. Keep what's yours." That was how it began, with a stranger's unexpected mercy. Cole loaded her supplies into his wagon without asking permission, then offered his hand to help her up. "You can't stay in that cabin alone. Everyone knows your situation. Men will come." "Men?" Her voice cracked. "Bad ones." His jaw tightened. "Your land borders mine. I have a bunkhouse that's been empty since my hands moved to the main house. It's yours until you figure things out." Eliza wanted to refuse. Pride demanded it. But survival whispered louder. "What do you want in return?" Something painful flickered across his weathered face. "To sleep knowing a woman isn't alone and defenseless a mile from my fence line. That enough reason for you?" The bunkhouse was small but solid, with a wood stove, a real bed, and windows that latched. Cole brought her belongings himself, refusing to let her carry anything heavy. When he set down the last crate, he paused at the door. "I lost my wife 2 years ago. Childbirth." The words came hard, like stones pulled from deep earth. "I know what it's like when the world goes quiet, because the one person who filled it is gone. You're not alone in that, even if it feels like it." Then he was gone, leaving her with the first understanding she'd felt since her mother's last breath. The days fell into a rhythm she hadn't expected. Cole appeared each morning with fresh milk, eggs, sometimes bread his housekeeper had baked. He never lingered, but he always asked if she needed anything. After a week, Eliza's pride couldn't take it anymore. "Let me work for what you're giving me," she said when he brought coffee and sugar. "I can cook, clean, mend. I'm not a charity case." Cole studied her for a long moment. "My housekeeper quit last month. Said I was too grim to work for." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "Can you handle grim?" "I just buried my mother and contemplated selling her wedding ring for beans, Mr. Brennan. I can handle anything." "Cole," he corrected, "and you start tomorrow." His ranch house was larger than she'd expected, but sparse, a man's domain, functional and lonely. She spent the first day cleaning, cooking a proper dinner, and trying not to notice how Cole watched her when he thought she wasn't looking. Not with hunger exactly. More like a man seeing color again after years of gray. That evening, he taught her to shoot. "Out here, a woman needs to protect herself," he said, positioning the rifle in her hands. He stood behind her, adjusting her stance, his chest almost touching her back. "Breathe steady. Squeeze. Don't pull." The gun kicked, and she stumbled backward into him. His hands caught her waist, steadying her, and for a heartbeat neither of them moved. She could feel his breath on her neck, the solid strength of him, the way his fingers pressed gently against her ribs. "Again," he said, voice rougher than before. By the end of the week, she could hit a bottle at 20 paces. The nightmares came on the 8th night. Eliza woke screaming, her mother's death rattle echoing in her ears. The memory of watching her fade mixed with older, darker memories. Her father's fists before he'd abandoned them. The hunger, the fear. She stumbled outside, gasping for air, and nearly collided with Cole. "Easy," he murmured, his hands on her shoulders. "You're safe. Breathe with me." She realized he was breathing deliberately, slow and deep, and she matched his rhythm until the panic subsided. He'd pulled on pants but no shirt, and in the moonlight she could see the scars across his chest and shoulders. Old wounds, healed but not forgotten. "War?" she asked, touching one lightly. Some from ranch life, some from being young and stupid." He caught her hand, held it against his heart. "You have nightmares too?" "Every night since she died." "They'll fade, not disappear, but fade." His thumb traced circles on her wrist. "You're stronger than you think, Eliza." "I don't feel strong." "Strength isn't about not breaking. It's about what you do after." He released her hand slowly, as if reluctant. "Get some rest. Tomorrow I'm teaching you to ride properly." The riding lessons became the best part of her days. Cole had a patience she'd never seen in a man, never rushing her, always letting her find her own balance. When she finally galloped across the meadow, laughing with pure joy, he watched with something like pride, warming his usually guarded expression. "You're a natural," he said, when she circled back. "I had a good teacher." She dismounted, flushed and happy, and found herself standing very close to him. "Thank you, Cole, for everything." "Eliza," her name was rough in his mouth, "I need to tell you something." But before he could continue, a rider appeared on the horizon, fast, desperate. One of his ranch hands. "Mr. Brennan, riders coming from the south, armed. I think it's Calhoun." Cole's entire demeanor shifted, went cold and dangerous. "Get to the house, now." "Who's Calhoun?" Eliza asked, fear rising. "A man who's been trying to take my land for 2 years. He's brought guns before." Cole handed her his revolver. "You remember what I taught you?" "Yes, but if anyone comes through that door who isn't me, you shoot. No questions. Understand?" She nodded, throat tight. What followed was the longest hour of her life. Gunfire erupted outside, sharp cracks that made her flinch. She crouched behind the overturned table Cole had positioned, the revolver heavy in her shaking hands, and prayed. When the door crashed open, she almost fired, but it was Cole, bleeding from his shoulder, supported by 2 of his men. "It's over," he gasped. "Calhoun's dead. His men scattered." Eliza rushed to him, her hands fluttering over the wound. "You're shot." Barely grazed, but his face was pale. She ordered his men to heat water, tear sheets for bandages, and bring whiskey. Then she made Cole sit while she cleaned the wound with shaking hands. The bullet had torn through muscle, but missed bone. "This is going to hurt," she warned. threading the needle. Just do it. His eyes locked on hers. I trust you. She'd never sewn human flesh before, but her hands steadied as she worked, each stitch careful and precise. Cole didn't make a sound, though sweat beaded his forehead and his jaw clenched hard enough to crack stone. When she tied off the final stitch, he released a shaky breath. "You've got steady hands," he said. I was terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Eliza. It's acting despite it. He caught her wrist with his good hand. You could have run, hidden, but you stayed. You helped. Where else would I go? The words came out softer than she intended. This is your. What am I? His voice dropped low, intimate. Home, she whispered. You feel like home. Something broke in his expression. Years of loneliness, grief held at bay, need he'd denied himself. Eliza, I swore I wouldn't do this, wouldn't feel this. Feel what? This. He pulled her closer with his good arm, his forehead resting against hers. You walked into my life desperate and half-broken, and somehow you made me want to live again instead of just survive. I look at you and see every sunrise I thought I'd stopped noticing. I hear you laugh and remember what joy sounds like. Cole. Her hands framed his face, careful of his wound. I'm falling in love with you. I think I have been since you gave me back my mother's ring. I'm too old for you, too damaged, too perfect, she interrupted. For me, you're perfect. When he kissed her, it was gentle at first, reverent, questioning. But when she made a soft sound and pressed closer, the kiss deepened into something that tasted of longing and promise, and the first rain after drought. He pulled back, breathing hard. I want to do this right, court you properly, not because you needed help and I was there. You think I'd kiss you out of gratitude? She smiled against his mouth. I'm kissing you because when I imagine my future, you're in it, every part of it. Marry me. The words rushed out. I know it's too soon. I know you're still grieving, but marry me. Be my wife, my partner. Let me spend the rest of my life proving you chose right. Yes, she didn't hesitate. Yes, Cole. 1,000 times yes. 2 weeks later, they stood before the circuit preacher in Cole's ranch house parlor. Eliza wore her mother's wedding ring on a chain around her neck and carried wildflowers Cole had picked that morning. His shoulder was still healing, but he stood straight and strong, his vows steady. I promise to honor your strength, protect your heart, and stand beside you, not in front of you, every day of our lives. You're not property or possession. You're my partner, my equal, my home. When it was her turn, tears slipped free. I promise to choose you every day, to build a life with you that honors both our pasts and celebrates our future, to be your shelter in the storm, as you've been mine. Together. Together, he echoed, and kissed her as the sun set through the window, painting them both in gold. That night, in the bedroom they would share for the rest of their lives, Cole's hands trembled as he unlaced her dress. If anything hurts, if you need me to slow down, don't stop, she whispered, guiding his hands to her waist. She looked up at him with trust and desire in equal measure, her fingers tracing the bandage on his shoulder. Stay there with me, always. Always. He promised and took her into his arms as if she were poisoned honey, dangerous, intoxicating, impossible to resist. My beautiful wife, my Eliza. She gasped his name as he lowered her to the bed, their bodies learning each other with the patience and passion of two people who'd found everything they needed in the last place they'd expected. Later, wrapped in his arms, with her head on his chest, she traced the scars she'd wondered about. "Tell me their stories. Only if you tell me yours." So they lay in the darkness and shared their wounds. Every scar, every grief, every moment that had broken them. And in the telling, in the trust of that vulnerability, they healed a little more. The epilogue of their story was written in the years that followed. Eliza learned to run the ranch alongside Cole, earning the respect of every hand through her fair dealings and quick mind. They had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, who grew up knowing their mother could shoot as well as their father, and that love wasn't about one person saving another, but 2 people choosing to stand together. On their 10th anniversary, Cole gave her a new ring, simple gold with a small diamond. "To replace your mother's," he said, "though I know nothing really could." "No," Eliza agreed, sliding both rings onto her finger. "But this one represents something just as important. A life we built, the choice we keep making. To choose each other every single day." He kissed her then, in the kitchen of their home, with the sound of their children playing outside, and the smell of bread baking, and the knowledge that they'd found something rare. A love forged in hardship, tempered by trust, and made unbreakable by their willingness to be vulnerable with each other. The widow's daughter had found her home, and the grieving rancher had found his reason to live. Together, they'd created something beautiful from their broken pieces, a testament to the truth that the strongest love stories begin when we're brave enough to let someone see us at our worst and choose to stay. The spring after their wedding brought unexpected challenges. Eliza woke one morning to find Cole already dressed, staring out the bedroom window with that distant look she'd learned to recognize, the one that meant something was weighing on him. "What's wrong?" she asked, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. "Drought's coming. I can feel it." He turned to her, concern etching lines around his eyes. "Old-timers in town are saying it'll be the worst in 40 years. We need to prepare." Eliza moved to stand beside him, slipping her hand into his. "Then we prepare. What do we need to do?" Over the following weeks, they worked harder than ever. Cole and his men dug deeper wells, while Eliza organized food stores and learned to preserve everything they could. But the drought came faster and fiercer than anyone predicted. By June, the grass had turned brown, the creek slowed to a trickle, and cattle began to die. One evening, Cole came in covered in dust, his face haggard. "Lost 15 head today. Found them by the dry creek bed." He sank into a chair, and for the first time since she'd known him, he looked defeated. "I don't know if we can survive this, Eliza." She knelt before him, taking his face in her hands. "Yes, we can. We've survived worse. Remember what you told me? Strength is what we do after we break. That's different. That was you being strong. I'm supposed to—" "You're supposed to let me be strong for you sometimes," she interrupted firmly. "That's what marriage means. We take turns carrying each other." Something shifted in his expression. He pulled her into his lap, burying his face against her neck. "What did I do to deserve you? You saw me when I was invisible. Now let me see you." She held him as his shoulders shook, once, twice, a man finally letting himself grieve not just for the cattle, but for the accumulated weight of years of shouldering everything alone. The next morning, Eliza rode into town alone. Cole had protested, but she'd been firm. "Trust me," she'd said, and he had. At the bank, she met with Mr. Morrison, the manager who'd attended their wedding. "Mrs. Brennan, what can I do for you?" "I need to discuss a loan. The ranch is struggling with the drought, and we need capital to buy feed and keep the herd alive until the rains come." Morrison frowned. "Mrs. Brennan, I'll need your husband to—" "My husband is managing the ranch," she said coolly. "I'm managing our finances. Now, do you want our business? Or shall I ride to Tucson and find a bank that recognizes that a wife can negotiate for her family?" 20 minutes later, she emerged with the loan papers and something else, a connection to a cattle buyer in California who was desperate for stock and willing to pay premium prices. It meant a dangerous drive through the desert, but it also meant survival. Cole read the papers that evening, his expression unreadable. When he looked up, his eyes were shining. "You did this? We're partners, remember? You taught me to shoot, to ride, to be strong. Let me use that strength for us." He kissed her then, deep and grateful and proud. "We'll make the drive together." "Cole, I can't leave the ranch!" "Together," he repeated firmly. "If we're doing this, we do it side by side. I'm not leaving you behind, and I'm not pretending I can do this without you. We succeed together or fail together." The cattle drive through the desert was brutal. 10 days of scorching sun, limited water, and constant vigilance against rustlers and predators. Eliza learned to work alongside the ranch hands, earning their respect through her refusal to complain and her steady hand when a stampede threatened on the 4th night. She was helping Cole calm the herd when a rattlesnake struck at her horse. The mare reared, and Eliza hit the ground hard, the breath knocked from her lungs. The snake coiled for another strike, but Cole's gun barked once, and the threat disappeared. "Eliza!" He was off his horse in an instant, hands running over her frantically. "Are you hurt? Did it bite you?" "Just bruised," she gasped. But when she tried to stand, pain lanced through her ankle. "Cole, I can't." "I've got you." He lifted her as if she weighed nothing, carrying her to the supply wagon. His hands shook as he examined her ankle. "Swollen, but not broken. You could have died." "But I didn't. The snake died, and we're going to make it to California." She caught his face, made him look at her. "We're going to save the ranch, Cole. This doesn't stop us." "I can't lose you," he said roughly. "If something happened to you because of my ranch, my debts, our ranch, our life, our choice," pulled him down for a kiss that was equal parts reassurance and passion. "I'm exactly where I want to be, bruised ankle and all." That night, while she rested in the wagon, Cole sat beside her, holding her hand and watching the stars. "When I lost Sarah, I thought I'd never feel anything again. I built walls so high nothing could get through." "What changed?" Eliza asked softly. "You didn't try to climb the walls. You just sat down beside them and waited until I was ready to let you in." He brought her hand to his lips. "You're the bravest person I know, Eliza Brennan. Not because you're not afraid, but because you don't let fear stop you." They reached California on the 9th day, sunburned and exhausted but triumphant. The buyer was impressed with the quality of the cattle and paid more than expected. As Cole counted the money that would save their ranch, Eliza saw the weight lift from his shoulders. "We did it," he said wonderingly. "We did," she agreed. Together, the journey home was lighter, filled with plans for the future and the knowledge that they could weather any storm. But their trials weren't over yet. 3 months after returning from California, Eliza began to feel ill in the mornings. At first, She dismissed it as exhaustion from the drive and the work of rebuilding the ranch. But when it continued for 2 weeks, Cole insisted on bringing the doctor. Dr. Martinez examined her thoroughly, then smiled. "Congratulations, Mrs. Brennan. You're with child." The room seemed to tilt. Eliza looked at Cole and saw her own shock reflected back, but also something else: fear. After the doctor left, Cole paced the kitchen like a caged animal. "We should have been more careful. After everything, I should have—" "Cole." She caught his arm, stopping him. "What's wrong?" "Sarah died giving birth," he said, the words torn from him. "I watched her bleed out in that bed upstairs, and there was nothing I could do. Nothing. And now you—" His voice broke. Understanding flooded through her. "I'm not Sarah. She wasn't supposed to die either." He pulled away, running his hands through his hair. "The doctor said everything was fine, that she was healthy, and then suddenly she wasn't, and—" He couldn't continue. Eliza had never seen him like this, truly terrified. She approached slowly, as she would a spooked horse. "Listen to me. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But we can't let fear steal this joy from us. What if I lose you? What if you don't?" She took his hands, placed them on her still flat stomach. "What if everything goes right? What if 9 months from now we're holding our child and marveling at how scared we were for nothing?" "I can't," his voice cracked. "Eliza, I can't survive losing you. I barely survived before you. If something happens, then we face it together. But we don't borrow tomorrow's troubles for today." She cupped his face, made him meet her eyes. "I need you to be here with me, Cole. Present. Not living in the past or fearing the future. Right here, right now, with me." Slowly, carefully, he wrapped his arms around her, holding her as if she were made of glass. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "So am I. But I'm also hopeful, excited, grateful." She pulled back enough to see his face. "Can you try to be those things too?" It took time. Cole hovered for the first month, barely letting her lift anything heavier than a teacup. But gradually, with Eliza's patient insistence and Dr. Martinez's reassurances, he began to relax. He talked to her stomach at night, telling their unborn child about the ranch, about the horses, about how their mother was the strongest person he'd ever met. "He's going to be a rancher like his father," Cole said one evening, his hand splayed across her growing belly. "She's going to be whatever she wants," Eliza countered, "just like her mother." They argued playfully about names, about whether to turn the spare room into a nursery, about everything and nothing. And slowly, joy began to overshadow fear. But in her 6th month, complications arose. Eliza woke in the night to cramping and spotting. Cole found Dr. Martinez within an hour, galloping through the darkness like a man possessed. The doctor examined her and delivered the verdict: complete bed rest for the remainder of the pregnancy. "The baby is fine for now," Dr. Martinez said, "but Mrs. Brennan's body is under strain. Any exertion could trigger premature labor, and at 6 months, the child wouldn't survive." Cole's face went white. After the doctor left, he sat beside the bed, holding Eliza's hand in a grip that bordered on painful. "You have to do exactly what he says. Everything. No arguing." "I won't argue," she promised, seeing the terror in his eyes. "Cole, I promise, I'll stay in this bed until it's time." The next 3 months tested them both. Eliza, used to constant activity, struggled with the confinement. Cole struggled with the memories of Sarah's final days. They snapped at each other, apologized, cried together, and held on through the fear. One night, when Eliza was crying from frustration and boredom, Cole climbed into bed beside her and pulled her close. "Tell me what you're thinking." "I'm thinking I hate being useless. I'm thinking I'm terrified something will go wrong. I'm thinking I don't know how you're managing everything alone again." The words tumbled out. "And I'm thinking I'm a terrible wife for complaining when you're just trying to keep me safe." "You're not terrible. You're human." He kissed her forehead. "And you're not useless. You're growing our child. That's the most important work there is. Do you still see Sarah when you look at me?" The question was soft, vulnerable. No. His answer was immediate and certain. "I see you. Only you. And I see a future I thought I'd lost. Yes, I'm scared, but I'm also grateful for every day I get with you, and I'm not going to waste them living in the past." "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too, more than I knew was possible." When labor finally came, 3 weeks before her due date, Cole stood beside her the entire time, counting through contractions, wiping her forehead, letting her grip his hand hard enough to bruise. When the pain became unbearable, when she was certain she couldn't continue, she whimpered those words he'd never forget. "Don't stop," she gasped between contractions. "Stay there with me. Don't leave me." "Never," he promised fiercely. "I'm right here. You're doing beautifully. So strong, my Eliza. So brave." And when their daughter finally arrived, screaming and healthy and perfect, Cole wept openly as Dr. Martinez placed her in Eliza's arms. "She's perfect," Eliza breathed, exhausted and elated. "Just like her mother." Cole touched their daughter's tiny hand with one finger, his expression filled with wonder. "Thank you. Thank you for fighting for her, for us." They named her Sarah Rose. Sarah for the wife Cole had lost, Rose for Eliza's mother. A bridge between past and present, grief and joy. That night, with their daughter sleeping in a cradle beside their bed, Cole held Eliza close. "I was so scared of losing you that I almost missed the miracle of having you." "But you didn't miss it," she said. "You were there for every moment. That's what matters." "Every moment from now until forever," he promised. "Together, together," she echoed. And in that word was everything they'd built, everything they'd overcome, and everything they still had to look forward to. Sarah Rose Brennan was 6 months old when trouble found them again. This time it came in the form of a woman, beautiful, sophisticated, and claiming to be Cole's sister-in-law. "Catherine?" Cole stood frozen in the doorway, his face pale. "What are you doing here? Is that any way to greet family?" The woman swept past him into the house, her expensive dress and perfect hair making Eliza suddenly aware of her own simple calico and the baby spit up on her shoulder. "I've come to see my niece." "Niece?" Eliza shifted Sarah protectively in her arms. Cole's jaw tightened. "Catherine, this is my wife Eliza. Eliza, this is Catherine Whitmore. She was married to my late wife's brother." "Was married?" Catherine's laugh was bitter. "Am married, Cole. James isn't dead, just gone. Like you'd be if you knew what was good for you." The threat hung in the air. Cole stepped forward, his body language protective. "You need to leave, now." "I need money," Catherine said bluntly. "James left me with nothing but debts and dangerous creditors. I need $50,000, and you're going to give it to me." "I don't have that kind of money," Cole said flatly. "Then sell the ranch." Catherine's eyes were hard. "Or I'll tell everyone in town the truth about Sarah's death, about how you were the one who—" "Stop." Cole's voice was ice. "Whatever lie you're planning to spin, I won't let you." Catherine smiled. "Is it a lie?" Sarah's family never believed it was just a difficult birth. They always suspected you did something. One word from me and the law will come asking questions. After she left, the house felt contaminated. Eliza put Sarah down for a nap, then found Cole in the barn, saddling his horse with sharp, angry movements. Cole, what did she mean? What truth? He didn't look at her. Sarah didn't just die in childbirth. She hemorrhaged, and I had to make a choice. The doctor said we might be able to save one of them, but probably not both. I chose Sarah. His voice broke. I chose to try to save my wife, and we lost them both anyway. Her family never forgave me for not choosing the baby first. Eliza felt the weight of that grief, that impossible choice. Cole, you couldn't have known. I chose wrong. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were haunted. I made the selfish choice, and I've lived with that guilt every day since. And now Catherine wants to use it to destroy everything we've built. It wasn't selfish, it was human. Eliza moved closer. And it doesn't matter what Catherine threatens. We'll face it together. She could take everything. The ranch. Our reputation. Maybe even Sarah Rose, if she convinces people I'm dangerous. He gripped the saddle so hard his knuckles turned white. I can't let her destroy you and our daughter because of my past. Our past, Eliza corrected. We're married. Remember? Your history is mine now. She took his hand. We're not giving her money we don't have, and we're not running. We stand and fight. But Catherine's threat proved more serious than they'd expected. Within days, whispers started in town. The sheriff came to ask questions. Cole was called to testify before a magistrate about Sarah's death, something that had been settled years ago, but was now being reopened. Eliza stood beside him through every humiliating question, every accusation. She hired a lawyer with money from the California cattle sale. She tracked down Dr. Henderson, who delivered Sarah's baby, and convinced him to testify about the medical realities of that terrible night. The hearing lasted 3 days. On the final day, Dr. Henderson's testimony was clear and unequivocal. Mr. Brennan made the only choice any husband would make. The magistrate dismissed the case, but the damage was done. People looked at Cole differently now. Some ranchers stopped doing business with him. Eliza felt the weight of judgment every time she went to town. One evening, she found Cole sitting on the porch, staring at the sunset. "We should leave," he said quietly. "Start over somewhere else where people don't know the story." "No." Eliza sat beside him, taking his hand. "This is our home. We built this together, and we're not letting Catherine's lies drive us away." "It's not just lies, though, is it?" His voice was raw. "I did choose Sarah over the baby. I did put my wife first. What kind of man does that? The kind of man who loves deeply and had to make an impossible choice," Eliza said fiercely. "The kind of man who learned from that pain and became an incredible father to our daughter. The kind of man I love and will stand beside no matter what anyone says." Cole turned to her, his eyes glistening. "How do you still see good in me after everything?" "Because I see all of you, the scars and the strength, the grief and the growth, the man you were and the man you've become." She cupped his face. "You're not defined by your worst moment, Cole. You're defined by every moment since, by how you've chosen to love, to forgive yourself, to build something beautiful from the ashes." He kissed her then, desperate and grateful, pouring everything he couldn't say into that connection. When they finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "What did I do to deserve you?" You saw me when I needed to be seen. You gave me a home when I had nowhere to go. You loved me when I felt unlovable." She smiled. "We saved each other, Cole. That's what we do." The next day, they went to town together. Some people whispered, some turned away, but others, the ones who mattered, greeted them warmly. The butcher, who'd known Cole for 20 years. The schoolteacher, who'd seen him donate books for the children. The widow Thompson, who remembered how Cole had fixed her roof after a storm and refused payment. "Ignore the gossips, Mrs. Petty," Thompson said loudly, making sure her voice carried. "Anyone who knows Cole Brennan knows he's a good man. Those who believe otherwise don't know anything worth knowing." Slowly, steadily, they rebuilt their reputation through actions rather than words. Cole helped neighbors with their harvests. Eliza organized a charity drive for families struggling after the drought. They opened their home for church gatherings and community events. And when Catherine appeared again, demanding they reconsider her offer, she found not a frightened couple, but a united front and a community that stood with them. "Leave," Cole said simply, "and don't come back. We don't negotiate with extortionists, and we don't run from our past. Whatever you thought you could take from us, you were wrong." Catherine left, and they never saw her again. That night, lying in bed with Sarah Rose sleeping peacefully in her cradle, Eliza traced the lines of Cole's face in the moonlight. "We did it. We survived another storm." "We did." He pulled her closer. "But I'm tired of just surviving, Eliza. I want to live, really live. No more looking over our shoulder at the past, no more fear of judgment. Just us, our family, our future." "Then that's what we'll do." She kissed him softly. "Starting tomorrow, we live, fully, fearlessly, together." "Together," he agreed. And in that moment, they both knew that whatever challenges came next, they would face them the same way they'd faced everything else, side by side, stronger together than they ever could be apart. 5 years after Sarah Rose was born, the Brennan Ranch had become one of the most successful in the territory. They'd expanded their herd, built a new barn, and hired more hands. Sarah Rose had 2 younger brothers now, James, named for Cole's grandfather, and Michael, named for Eliza's father who died when she was young. Life was good, but Eliza felt something shifting inside her. She'd spent 5 years pouring everything into the ranch and raising children, but lately, she'd been thinking about the land itself, about water rights and sustainable grazing, about the future of ranching in a changing West. One evening, she found Cole in his office, reviewing ledgers. "I want to start something new," she said without preamble. He looked up, curious. "New how?" "I want to organize a cattlemen's association. Bring ranchers together to share resources, negotiate better prices, lobby for fair water rights." The words came faster as her excitement grew. "We could help small ranchers survive instead of being bought out by big corporations. We could make a real difference." Cole leaned back, studying her. "That would take a lot of time, a lot of travel, meetings, negotiations." "I know." She met his eyes. "And I know it means you'd have to manage more here. But Cole, I think this is important. I think it could change lives." He was quiet for a long moment, and Eliza's heart sank. But then he smiled, that rare, full smile that still made her breath catch. "Then do it. You've spent 5 years helping me build my dream. It's time I helped you build yours." "You're serious?" "Completely." He stood, crossed to her, took her hands. "You're brilliant, Eliza. You understand people and business better than anyone I know. If you think this can work, then it can. And I'll be here, supporting you every step of the way. What about the children? The ranch? We'll figure it out, together. He kissed her forehead. That's what we do, remember? The Western Cattlemen's Association started small, just a handful of ranchers meeting in the Brennan parlor. But Eliza's vision and determination attracted more members. Within 6 months, they had 40 ranches represented. Within a year, they'd successfully lobbied for better water access and negotiated a group rate with the railroad. But success brought its own challenges. Not everyone was happy with the association's growing power. Corporate ranchers saw it as a threat. Some of the older ranchers resented taking direction from a woman. And one man in particular, Marcus Thornton, who owned the largest ranch in the territory, was determined to destroy what Eliza had built. Thornton showed up at a meeting uninvited and unwelcome. "Mrs. Brennan," he said, his voice dripping with condescension, "this little club you've organized is charming, but ranching is men's work. Why don't you go home and let your husband handle business?" The room went silent. Eliza stood slowly, meeting Thornton's eyes with steel in her own. "Mr. Thornton, this little club has saved 17 ranches from bankruptcy and improved profits across the board by 23%. If that's not men's work, perhaps men should reconsider what they're capable of." Laughter rippled through the room. Thornton's face reddened. "You're making enemies, woman. So we should go on to the plans." But Thornton wasn't finished. He began spreading rumors that the association was corrupt, that Eliza was embezzling funds, that Cole was using his wife's position to gain unfair advantages. When that didn't work, he tried sabotage, poisoning water sources, cutting fences, even setting fires. The final straw came when one of Thornton's men tried to run Eliza off the road while she was driving home from a meeting. Her wagon overturned, and though she wasn't seriously injured, she was shaken and bruised. Cole found her limping up the road, leading her frightened horse. His face went through shock, relief, and then pure rage. Who did this? "I'm fine," she tried to say. But he was already lifting her into his arms, checking her for injuries with shaking hands. "Who did this?" "Thornton's man. I recognized him." She caught his face, made him look at her. "Cole, I'm all right, just bruised." "He could have killed you." Cole's voice was raw. "Eliza, this has gone too far. You need to step back from the association." "No." Her voice was firm, despite her pain. "That's exactly what he wants. If I quit now, everything we've built falls apart." "I don't care about the association." Cole's voice rose. "I care about you. I can't lose you, Eliza. I can't." He stopped, breathing hard. "Please, for me, for our children, step back." Eliza saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear from her pregnancy, from Catherine's threats, from every moment when he thought he might lose her. "I can't live my life afraid," she said gently. "You taught me that. You showed me what it means to be brave even when you're terrified. That's different." "No, it's not." She took his hands. "You took a risk loving me. You took a risk having more children after Sarah. You take risks every day running this ranch. You don't get to ask me to be less than who I am because you're scared." He flinched as if she'd struck him. "That's not fair. Neither is asking me to give up something important because someone threatened me." She softened her voice. "I need you to trust me, Cole. Trust that I can handle this. Trust that we can handle this. Together. I do trust you. His voice was anguished. I can't go through losing someone again. Then don't push me away trying to protect me. She pulled him close. We face Thornton together. We build something he can't destroy. We show him that threatening a Brennan, either Brennan, was his biggest mistake. Cole held her for a long moment, wrestling with his fear. Finally, he nodded against her hair. Together. But we do this smart. We gather evidence, we involve the law, and you don't go anywhere alone anymore. Deal. They spent the next month building their case. Cole rode with Eliza to every meeting, a silent, protective presence. They documented every incident of sabotage, gathered witness statements, and compiled financial records proving the association's legitimacy. When they had everything they needed, they went to the territorial governor himself. The evidence was overwhelming. Thornton was arrested, his ranch seized to pay restitution. The association not only survived, but thrived, becoming a model for ranchers across the West. At the association's 5th anniversary celebration, Eliza stood before a crowd of over 100 ranchers and their families. Cole stood beside her, their children in the front row. 5 years ago, I had an idea that ranchers could be stronger together than apart, she began. Many of you laughed. Some of you fought us. But here we are, stronger, more profitable, more secure than we've ever been. This isn't my success. It's ours. Every person in this room chose cooperation over competition, community over isolation. You chose to believe that a better future was possible. Thank you for that faith. The applause was thunderous. Cole squeezed her hand, his pride evident. That night, after the children were asleep and the house was quiet, they sat on the porch swing they'd installed 5 years earlier. I'm proud of you, Cole said quietly, not just for the association, but for staying true to yourself, for refusing to be small when the world wanted you to shrink. I learned from the best. She leaned against his shoulder. You gave me room to grow, Cole. Not every man would do that. Not every woman would be worth it. He kissed the top of her head. But you are. You're worth everything. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars and listening to the night sounds of the ranch. Their children slept safe inside. Their land stretched fertile and productive around them. Their love, tested by time and trial, had only grown deeper. Do you ever regret it? Eliza asked. Taking in a desperate widow's daughter all those years ago? Every day, Cole deadpanned, then laughed at her indignant sound. I regret that I didn't find you sooner, that we didn't have more time together, but regret you? Never. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Eliza Brennan. Even with all the drama, the near-death experiences, the constant challenges, especially because of those things. He turned her face to his. You make life an adventure instead of just an existence. You make me braver, better, more alive. I was surviving before you. Now I'm living. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Today, tomorrow, forever. Together, always together. And as they kissed under the stars, surrounded by the life they'd built from nothing but determination and love, they both knew that their greatest adventure wasn't behind them. It was still unfolding. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of courage at a time. Together. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Eliza and Cole's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.